Level 1, subnormal. A world of pure feeling. At the very base of human cognition lies a world few truly understand, a state once feared, misunderstood, and even hidden from view. Subnormal intelligence. Clinically, it describes a mind functioning below an IQ of 70, not by fault or choice, but by the silent hand of biology. Sometimes it's written in the genes, like in Down syndrome. Sometimes it's shaped by severe trauma or early developmental disruption. Here, the mind is built differently. Abstract reasoning, that bridge connecting past, present, and future, is fragile, often incomplete. Language might exist in fragments or not at all. Memory, that invisible thread holding life's story together, slips easily from the grasp. For someone at this level, the world isn't a web of ideas or time. It's a flood of pure sensation. The present moment is everything. The warmth of a hand, the echo of a laugh, the scent of home. Reality comes through texture, sound, and emotion, not through logic, but through feeling, and within that simplicity lies something extraordinary. Their emotional awareness can be astonishingly deep. They feel the tone in a voice, the tension in a room, the truth behind a fake smile. They know sincerity without needing words. For centuries, such minds were cast aside, misunderstood, neglected, or worse. But today our perspective is shifting. We're learning that intelligence isn't the sole measure of humanity, because a life rich in emotion, trust, and connection can be just as meaningful as one filled with ideas. With care, respect, and love, people at this level can thrive in their own profound way, forming bonds that never break and finding joy in the simplest sensations. They remind us of something primal, that before humanity learned to reason, it learned to feel. Before thought, there was awareness. Before intellect, there was the heartbeat of life itself. Pause, the music softens. And that's where our journey begins, at the first and purest level of intelligence. But as we rise through the next stages, the mind begins to change, to evolve. What happens when awareness turns into thought? Let's find out in Level 2. Level 2. Below average, just above the realm of total dependency, lies a vast, often unseen portion of humanity, those with what we call below average intelligence. Here, IQ scores fall between 70 and 85. People at this level are fully capable of independent life, but the abstract world, numbers, theories, complex grammar can feel distant and elusive. In classrooms, they struggle not from lack of effort, but from the way the system is built. Algebra, metaphors, scientific principles, these aren't just hard. They feel foreign. Learning comes not through explanation, but through experience, through doing, through repetition, touch, and routine. This is the intelligence of the practical world. While essays and theories may not come naturally, their minds are often wired for action. They might possess an instinctive grasp of how engines work, an intuitive sense for planting crops, or a natural tenderness in caring for children or the elderly. They thrive where structure meets purpose, on assembly lines, in kitchens, in workshops, and care homes. Their problem-solving is immediate and real. Fix what's in front of you. Mend what's broken now. And yet, despite their quiet reliability, they are often overlooked, dismissed by an education system obsessed with abstract intellect. But intelligence wears many faces. These individuals often carry a kind of wisdom that can't be measured on paper, loyalty that doesn't waver, empathy that runs deep, and a sense of stability that grounds everyone around them. They are the dependable neighbors, the patient caregivers, the hands that keep our communities functioning when others only talk about how to do it. Their value isn't in redefining systems, it's in keeping them alive. They succeed not by bending the world to their will, but by finding their place within it. And as we move upward, intelligence begins to shift once more, from the practical to the conceptual. So what happens when the mind starts to question, not just do? That's where Level 3 begins. Level 3, average, and a trap welcome to Level 3, the great plateau of human intelligence. This is where most of humanity lives, learns, and stays. IQ scores here range from 85 to 115, the broad middle that keeps the modern world running. It's the intelligence that drives cars, pays bills, raises families, and discusses last night's news over morning coffee. This is the level of teachers, office workers, mechanics, nurses, and managers, balanced, adaptable, capable of solving everyday problems with ease. People here can follow instructions, learn from mistakes, and handle life's routines with steady competence. But within this comfort lies a hidden danger, the great cognitive trap. Average intelligence can create the illusion of mastery. It's just sharp enough to form opinions, yet not always sharp enough to question them. This is where the Dunning-Kruger effect quietly takes hold, where confidence often grows faster than understanding. At this level, many believe they know because they've heard. They repeat what they've been told, mistaking familiarity for insight. A headline becomes truth. A slogan becomes belief. And it's easy to stay here. Life works. The system rewards conformity. There's food on the table, a paycheck on Friday, and entertainment waiting every night. So why question anything deeper? That's the trap. Comfort disguised as completion. The average mind defends what it already knows, building walls of certainty around fragile understanding. It becomes a fortress of opinions, not exploration. The tragedy isn't in being average, it's in believing that average is the end of the journey. Because being just smart enough to get by often keeps a person from ever becoming something more. And as we climb higher, the mind begins to crack open again. Curiosity stirs, and the search for meaning returns. So what happens when intelligence begins to question itself? That's where level 4 begins. Level 4, above average. At level 4, the gears of the mind begin to spin faster, sharper, more fluid, more aware. This is the realm of above-average intelligence, where IQ scores range from roughly 115 to 130. But this isn't just about having more brain power. It's about seeing differently. People at this level don't just gather information, they absorb it. They don't just see facts. They trace invisible lines connecting them long before anyone else does. For them, school can feel like waiting in slow traffic. Lessons repeated, ideas delayed, minds idling when theirs is already miles ahead. Conversations can feel like performances, holding back thoughts, simplifying words, adjusting the tempo just to stay in sync with everyone else. These are the minds that naturally drift toward complexity. They find harmony in computer code, logic in engineering, beauty in philosophy. They solve problems almost instinctively, streamlining chaos into structure, spotting weak links in arguments, predicting outcomes before they unfold. But this mental quickness carries a quiet curse. The world around them can seem painfully slow, people moving through life unaware of the patterns flashing in plain sight. It can lead to frustration, even cynicism. You see the twist in the story before the first act ends, and then pretend to be surprised when everyone else gasps. Many at this level learn to mask their intelligence, to dim the brightness, to blend in. Not because they want to, but because standing out often isolates. They mimic the rhythm of normal conversation, all while their mind races silently behind their eyes. The real danger here isn't arrogance, it's detachment. When your perspective sits too far above, it's easy to stop participating and start observing, to become a spectator in life instead of a part of it. Above-average intelligence can make the world feel like it's moving in slow motion, a place where clarity becomes loneliness. But just beyond this point, the human mind takes another leap, toward insight so sharp it starts to reshape the world itself. That's the threshold of level 5. Level 5. High. Now we enter the territory of high intelligence, the rare air occupied by roughly the top 2% of humanity, with IQs between 130 and 145. Crossing this threshold isn't just about thinking faster, it's about seeing deeper. It's like shifting from a flat, two-dimensional picture to a full three-dimensional world. At this level, the mind doesn't simply recognize patterns. It recognizes the patterns that connect those patterns. Contradictions don't threaten understanding. They enrich it. Where others see confusion, they see complexity, and complexity is their native language. People at this level are the system builders, the abstract architects of thought. Learning for them isn't about memorizing facts. It's about weaving knowledge into an ever-expanding web. A new idea doesn't stand alone. It instantly links to everything else they know, reshaping their mental map of reality. This is why so many excel in fields like theoretical physics, high-level software design, or strategic planning, anywhere vision and structure must merge. They think in systems within systems, constantly running silent simulations of how the world works and why it sometimes doesn't. But this brilliance often comes with an emotional cost. Especially in youth, high intelligence can be isolating, like being tuned to a frequency no one else can hear. They notice subtleties, contradictions, and dark implications others miss. It can make the world feel heavy, even absurd, leading to existential anxiety not born from philosophy, but from clarity. When left unbalanced, this awareness can spiral into loneliness or cynicism. But when matched with emotional depth and maturity, it becomes something extraordinary, a force for innovation, strategy, and creation. These are the thinkers who don't just solve problems, they redesign them. They see cause and effect not as a chain, but as a web, a living network of consequences stretching across time. And yet, even here, the mind is still evolving. Because beyond raw intellect lies something even rarer, a kind of intelligence that sees not just systems, but truth itself. That's where Level 6 begins. Level 6, Gifted Mind. At Level 6, intelligence stops being just a tool, it becomes a blaze. Giftedness, usually marked by an IQ above 145, isn't simply about sharper logic or faster thought. It's the moment when the intellect fuses with an unrelenting drive to create, to question, to understand everything. The gifted mind doesn't just take in knowledge, it produces it. It's a mental factory that never shuts down, constantly generating new ideas, new possibilities, new ways of seeing the world. From early childhood, these individuals often seem almost otherworldly. They may recall details with photographic clarity, hyper-focus for hours without fatigue, and approach every mystery with a curiosity that borders on obsession. This is the child who teaches themselves piano by ear, who turns scrap metal into intricate machines, who writes a novel before most people learn to drive. They don't just solve problems, they redefine them. Their minds move laterally, not linearly, leaping between subjects that others see as unrelated, weaving them together in ways that at first seem strange, and later, revolutionary. But this brilliance comes with weight. A mind that burns this hot rarely rests. It can mean sensory overload, emotional turbulence, and a perfectionism so fierce it borders on self-punishment. The ordinary rhythms of life, slow, rigid, repetitive, can feel suffocating. Many grow frustrated in classrooms, boxed in by systems that move too slowly for their minds to breathe. The greatest battle for the gifted isn't intellectual, it's internal. Learning to manage a world inside their head that's far more vivid, volatile, and complex than the one outside. When they finally learn to channel that chaos, when the fire is harnessed instead of consuming, they become the visionaries, the inventors, the artists who don't just shape culture, they expand it. They remind us that genius isn't calm, it's combustion. And when the flames are guided, they light the way forward for the rest of us. But even this isn't the summit. Because beyond giftedness lies something rarer still. Minds that don't just burn brightly, but seem to see beyond the limits of human thought itself. That's where Level 7 begins. Level 7, Genius, a different level. Entirely. Level 7 isn't the next rung above giftedness. It's a different ladder altogether. True genius is vanishingly rare, found in perhaps 1 out of every million minds. These individuals don't just excel within existing systems of thought, they invent new ones. A genius doesn't simply play the game better, they change the rules entirely. Think of Einstein, who didn't just calculate how space and time worked, he reshaped the very meaning of space and time itself. Or Srinivasa Ramanujan, who glimpsed mathematical truths in dreams. theorems that would take the world's greatest mathematicians decades to verify. The architecture of a genius mind is alien to most of us. It doesn't just move faster, it moves differently. It runs sideways, backward, in spirals and leaps, connecting ideas that logic says should never touch. It asks questions no one else dares to ask. Why does this rule exist? What if the foundation itself is wrong? From that strange and beautiful chaos, entire revolutions are born. In science, in philosophy, in art. And once they emerge, the world is never the same again. But for the genius, this brilliance rarely feels like a blessing. It's often a kind of exile. Their minds move so quickly, their insights so advanced, that communication itself becomes an act of translation, simplifying ideas so extraordinary that others can only grasp their surface. History is full of geniuses who were rejected before they were revered. Their ideas were mocked, their warnings ignored, their discoveries dismissed as madness. Because genius lives decades, sometimes centuries, ahead of its time. They exist in a future no one else can yet see. And more often than not, they die there, alone, misunderstood, long before the rest of humanity finally arrives. But beyond genius lies something even rarer. A level where intelligence transcends analysis and begins to look inward, toward wisdom itself. That's the beginning of Level 8. Level 8. Polymath. If genius is the deepest dive into one ocean of knowledge, the polymath sails across all of them. This level of intelligence isn't defined by how many subjects one masters, but by the ability to see the hidden symmetry connecting them all. A polymath doesn't view art, science, and philosophy as separate worlds. In their mind, they're different dialects of the same universal language. Their thoughts weave constantly, pulling together threads of insight from every discipline into one vast, luminous tapestry of understanding. History gives us glimpses of what this looks like. Leonardo da Vinci dissected the human body not for medicine alone, but to capture the divine mechanics of motion in his paintings. His sketches of fluid dynamics inspired designs for flying machines centuries ahead of their time. Benjamin Franklin, too, scientist, inventor, writer, diplomat, drew on each realm to deepen the others, creating wisdom that transcended categories. The defining trait of the polymath isn't just intellect, it's boundary-breaking curiosity. They're compelled by questions so vast that no single discipline can possibly contain them. They see mathematics pulsing inside music. They sense biology echoing through society. They hear philosophy whispering from the laws of physics. In a world obsessed with specialization, where we're told to choose one path and stay there, the polymath stands as an intellectual rebel. Their pursuit isn't about credentials or careers. It's about synthesis, integration, vision. Becoming a polymath demands patience, relentless discipline, and a love of learning so pure it borders on devotion. They're not building a resume. They're building a worldview, and through them, we remember a truth often forgotten, that every fragment of knowledge, no matter how distant, is part of a single, interconnected whole. That the greatest breakthroughs don't always come from digging deeper, but from climbing higher, and finally seeing the entire landscape from above. But even the polymath, vast as their mind may be, stands on the edge of something greater, a frontier where intelligence transcends knowledge itself. That's where Level 9 begins. Level 9, Visionary. At this stage, intelligence transcends understanding. It becomes creation itself. A visionary doesn't just perceive reality. They reshape it. Where others see the world as it is, they see the shimmering outline of what it could be, and possess the audacity to bring it into existence. This level of mind is a rare fusion of genius intellect, limitless foresight, and a ferocious willpower that borders on obsession. If the genius discovers a new law of nature, and the polymath understands its implications across realms, the visionary asks, what if we use this to build an entirely new world? These are the disruptors of history, the ones who drag the future, kicking and screaming, into the present. Their ideas sound impossible until suddenly they aren't. They see patterns not just in knowledge, but in time itself, sensing where humanity is heading long before anyone else. They connect the sparks between emerging technologies, untapped desires, and the deep psychological needs of entire civilizations. To a visionary, the future isn't a destination waiting to arrive. It's territory, wild, unclaimed, and waiting to be bent into shape. But this brilliance carries a cost. Visionaries are by nature heretics. They defy tradition, threaten institutions, and shatter the comfortable illusions of the present. Ridicule, rejection, and resistance are constants in their path, yet they continue, fueled by a conviction so deep it borders on faith. They are not simply smart. They are possessed. Driven by a vision so powerful it consumes them, reshaping industries, birthing revolutions, and rewriting the trajectory of humanity itself. Where the rest of us see a wall, they see a door, and they don't wait for permission to open it. The visionary doesn't predict the future. They build it, one impossible idea at a time, and beyond even them lies a final threshold, where intelligence no longer belongs to the individual mind at all, but to something far greater. That's where level 10 begins. Level 10, transcendent, the final frontier of the mind. This is the summit. The point where the pursuit of intelligence folds back upon itself, where the thinker begins to question the act of thinking. At this level, the mind ceases its endless hunger for more data, more theories, more mastery, and instead turns inward asking, who is it that seeks to know? Here, intelligence no longer functions as a tool for navigating reality. It becomes a mirror, reflecting not the world, but the one who perceives it. This is the realm of the sages, mystics, and philosophers who stepped beyond intellect into awareness itself. The Buddha, who didn't offer another model of reality, but a way to see through the mind's obsession with models. Socrates, whose greatest insight was not knowledge, but the recognition of his own ignorance. At this altitude of consciousness, the mind stops connecting dots and begins to question the existence of the dots themselves, the paper they're drawn on, and the hand that draws them. Transcendent intelligence isn't loud or dazzling. It's quiet, serene, almost invisible. It may look like simplicity or even madness to those still climbing the ladder below. It doesn't seek to win debates, prove theories, or build systems. It seeks only to dissolve the illusion of the self that needs to win, prove, or build. At this level, intelligence surrenders its ego. It no longer serves the individual mind, it serves awareness itself. A luminous stillness that doesn't merely understand the world, but understands understanding. And in that realization lies the paradox, the ultimate irony of the intellectual journey. After a lifetime of seeking, questioning and knowing, the highest intelligence discovers the simplest truth, that there was never anything to find. This is the final frontier of the mind. Not brilliance, not power, but the silent clarity of pure awareness, where the light of intelligence finally illuminates itself. If you enjoyed this journey into the depths of the human mind, make sure to subscribe to Strange Wise, where every question leads to another mystery. Hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and join us as we keep exploring the hidden patterns of our world and beyond.